Welcome to Vets2PM's Military Transition Academy podcast, the show where we discuss how to succeed in transitioning from the military service to the civilian workforce. This show and the academy it represents helps veterans transition into meaningful, lucrative post-service careers. Your primary host is Eric Doc Wright, PhD, certified manager, military veteran, serial founder, best-selling business author, philosopher, linguist, and coach. Your other host is Jeremy Burdick, project management professional, scrum master, product owner, and retired Air Force chief, and the current COO of Vets2PM and the Professional Development Unit University, where we will interview veterans successful in corporate America and business to bring you nuggets of wisdom every episode to make you more successful. Next, let's introduce today's guest.
Right. So, Doc, we've got a unique show here. We've got our talent and career services team. We've got a full panel of intelligent people. We're going to talk on the SkillBridge today. So let me start with, we've got Kathy, our director of career services. We've got Bridget. She's our program manager for the SkillBridge program. And then we've got Jessica, keeps all things together through helping with career services, with Bridget on the SkillBridge team, and onboarding clients as well. So very important piece of the chain, and we're no better than the weakest link. So let's get started with what is the SkillBridge program from your perspective, and let's start with Jessica here.
Okay, hi. So the SkillBridge program is basically an internship that military service members can do for up to 6 months, up to 180 days before they transition out. So they are still getting paid by the military, still have all their benefits, still have health care, workman's comp, everything, but yet they are working as a resident intern with the company. So getting on the job training, if they're doing one of our certifications, they get PMP training, APHR training, just certifications that will help them once they transition out of the military.
Beautiful. And then, let's see, what could you add to it, Bridget?
Well, it's really imperative. It's probably one of the best DoD programs that I think I've come across. I'm retired out of the Air Force, 26 and a half years. And it's one of the, at first I kind of was like, that seems a little weird, but I have seen so much success with this program. And it is really imperative to the successful transition out of the military, whether you've been in for 3, 4, or 5 years, all the way up through 15, 20 years. It allows the service member to stay on active duty and still provide for their families and have a low risk of being able to transition into different industries. So it allows us to take our uniform off, take the cap off, put on a different hat on that says, hey, I'm getting ready to kind of integrate into corporate America or get back to kind of normal civilian life. And it takes away those stressors of being responsible to your supervisor or to your commander, although you still have that because you are still active duty. But all of those daily tasks have been removed, and you get a chance to just decompress and really focus on what you need in that transition, whether it's learning how to speak civilian fluently or being able to figure out what it is that you really want to do once you kind of grow up, and then being able to just have control of your own destiny and your own choose your own adventure type environment. So just a fantastic program. And I really hope that the Department of Defense keeps it on track so that we can continue to facilitate internships for our transitioning military.
Yeah, two great points I think you made there is lower the stress and lower the risk, right? But it's also not just lower the stress and risk of the military member. How would that help an employer? And I'll let Kathy run with that one.
So I was going to say, yeah, we've focused on the transitioning service member to this point. And something I wanted to add about that was it enables them to do this before they're out of the military. So many service members, 200,000 a year approximately, transition out. And with this program, they're not going to learn those lessons while they're trying to earn money for their family. So that causes another whole set of stressors. So this gives them the time to learn this and potentially lock in their next job while they're in SkillBridge and not have to be so stressed when they transition out. And for employers, when you think about it this way, they get to have an resident intern on staff learning their company business before they have to pay them several months to integrate that person into the company, teach them the company business, enable them to do training, whether it's through us or their own, corporate training. And by the time that internship's over, not only has the intern learned what Zoom is and how to use it, or Teams is and how to use it, or Slack is and how to use it, they've learned how to collaborate with people in corporate America, learn that language of corporate America, learn the company's business, learn standard business practices and protocol, which is very different from military practices and protocol. And then, at the end, maybe it's a great match. At the end, maybe it's not a great match. But what that resident intern has learned through the process is invaluable. And it's teaching corporate America that when they look at a military resume that they might not understand, what they're not seeing is that individual's depth and breadth of experience that they can bring into that company to help them build business and gain insight into a resource that they haven't been able to tap into beforehand. Most interns, corporate America would not ever interview because they can't see the synergy from the resume or the application. And then all in all, it helps them increase their retention rates, because if they hire an individual who's been with them for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, that person's been there for that length of time, onboarding's easy, and retention skyrockets.
Wow.
Right. So JB, so here's what I tell when I'm standing at booths at conferences, talking to HR directors and talking to CEOs and talking to business development executives. Here's what I tell them. Veterans. Okay. So MTA Podcast Nation, if you're listening and you're a veteran, here's your soundbite. Here's what you tell your boss and your buddies. And I know, because I've stood at the table and talked to colonels about letting their folks go for these things. Because, hey, Colonel, someday, sir, ma'am, you're going to need a SkillBridge residency, and we can help you. And when I say this to them, they get it. So veterans, here's your soundbite. Corporate America, here's your soundbite. Here's what's in it for you. Here's why you care about Vets2PM and their DoD SkillBridge program. Because I know it's like everybody else's SkillBridge program, except ours was built by veterans for veterans, and we constantly incorporate feedback for the future veterans. Okay, veterans, you need to learn to talk about your experience in civilian management and leadership, not air defense, not combat medicine, not supply chain, not all the cool stuff that you talk about in the US Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps. That's not how they talk about management and leadership on the outside. Okay, we're going to teach you how to translate everything you've ever done in the civilian languages of the civilian careers. We're then going to certify that experience with industry recognized credentials, right? And you get 90 days to really be that person. Because I know of your honor and your courage and your commitment. You're not going to say, hey, I'm a project manager. Hey, I'm a business development professional, because they called you a recruiter, because they called you a special operator. I know, I got it. You're not going to say that, but you were. That's your experience. Talk about it the way they do. Certify it so it's legit, and then interview like you were that person, because you were. Own that. Corporate America, you test drove them for 90 days. You train them how to do what you need them to do, so they got no bad habits. So they're lower cost. You onboard them quicker. They're already on board, and they stick around longer because you onboarded them. It's a good fit for culture. And if it wasn't, you should have found that out in the interview. You had them for 91 days. So it's lower cost, it's lower risk. Oh, and it's higher culture fit. They know you, you know them. You've already had several dances and dinners. Hey, we're good to go, right? By the way, if you do hire them, you get a $9,600 tax credit. And if you don't hire them, no harm, no foul. Interview them. Kathy, Jess, Bridget, they'll place them at some company that does want them. You can hire the next cat in the database that is a culture fit for you. I mean, so at the end of the day, low cost, low risk, higher culture fit for corporate America. It's easy math. whether you're the vet or the company. That's why us.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I think just to hit on a couple things, because there was a lot between Kathy and Doc, is they're learning Zoom. They're learning how to virtually work virtually, because we do run a lot of this stuff virtually. So they're learning some skill sets that they may never have used in the military for and to help corporate America. They're learning Slack, Teams, some of the other communication, transmission stuff that we utilize internally in Vets2PM. So they're getting mentorship from corporate professionals, but they're also getting mentorship from veterans that have been there before. And we talk extensively with hiring managers. So we kind of figure out, hey, this is what they're looking for. So we help them provide immediate day one value to the companies we place them with. So I think that's really good. And then Doc, I love that you brought up, we're talking about from the perspective of the veteran, why would you want to? I challenge you, why would you not want to, right? Because we have the ability to put you into any company in corporate America, not just one. We also add the training piece. So it's a conversation you don't have to have with a hiring manager. You've got an industry recognized certification that says you are experienced in this and you had to apply yourself to do it. From the employer perspective, I fully agree. It lowers the risk of a hiring decision. And what happens, Bridget, if you don't have a full-time position for this veteran?
We just say, if you don't have one, but you are really invested in the program, you can absolutely still host a SkillBridge intern. And what you provide to them is the ability to be able to allow them to separate themselves from their command and their job. That gives them time to also, send out resumes and be able to have interviews and take that time to themselves to figure out what it is that they really want to do. We tend to kind of migrate towards what we did in the military. And this is the one time that you get to actually go, you know what? I was I was in communications. And I think that because my resume says communications, I need to go communications. Well, this is your opportunity to kind of just dabble and put your toes in the water and feel out some other industries. But back to your question though, is, you can still provide great value to our SkillBridge interns by the mentorship, the training, the conversation, just teaching them how businesses work, what the expectations are. We have different expectations in corporate America than you do in the military. Just simple as that. We're on call 24/7 in the military. You get to have business hours again, and you establish those expectations with, your supervisor and the boss. And but we would definitely accept you as a host company if you don't have the capacity. But let's be real, Jeremy, that sometimes you may not think that you have the ability to hire them, but once they get in your door and you realize the resources, the skill sets, experiences that our veterans can provide to your culture, your company, you may find a way to budget to hire them full time.
For instance, Bridget retired Air Force, Jessica separated, transitioned Navy. We're both SkillBridge interns for Vets2PM. We had a conversation with both of them at the beginning of our SkillBridge internship with each of them that we're probably, we want to give you this experience and this time to learn, but we're probably not going to have anything for you at the end. And by the end of both of their internships, they both have helped us refine and grow business growth, grow our program, and they each earned a job. So it can happen that way. Other times it doesn't happen that way, but the intern is so much better prepared for their job search, and they're going to be more likely to succeed in the job that they do take when they transition because of the experience.
Yeah. I'll also say, Jeremy, if you don't mind me adding, is, we do weekly meetings with all of our interns with Vets2PM to provide them guidance, mentorship. We help them. Like, a lot of questions are on the VA process, and it just so happens that we have a lot of experience with that with all of our veterans in the company, and those that have been working with veterans for so long that we can answer those questions And what's even better is that we have all the interns on the call. So they're actually answering each other's questions. They've established a network. They know that the same people are going through the same issues and the same problems. And so, and also celebrating their successes. You know, when we are talking about, hey, we get to get on that meeting and we ask them, hey, has anybody had anything that they want to celebrate? And they can go around the room and the virtual room, of course, and they'll tell us about their job offers or their interviews that they're having, or some of the trials and tribulations they've had with their resumes and what have been successful opportunities for them. And, you know, so we establish a mentorship group. We also have, you know, other Slack versions that they're able to ask questions if they get stuck, or how do you do this, or, you know, what should I expect on a time frame for this? And so that's why Vets2PM is such a critical role in their transition, is that we're helping them along the way from cradle to grave, to go from, you know, someone that might be scared of trying to get into a different industries to someone who has secured a job, and now we're helping them you know, integrate into their new company. And furthermore, we're there for a lifetime. You know, we help them. We don't close the door the minute that they leave our program. We try to help them out through their entire lifetime. We'll you know, keep them in our network that will help them if they're looking for jobs. We'll, you know, market their resume if we need to. You know, if that job doesn't go well, we'll use our network to help you out. So I think it's just such a robust program, and it is just a fantastic opportunity for our SkillBridge interns and our host companies.
And if I can also add one more thing, in those meetings with the interns, they ask questions about what's happening in their internship. They might not know who to go to ask a question or how to handle a situation. So we guide them there. They wouldn't have that in their first job after the military. They wouldn't have that support system, that weekly meeting to be able to ask those questions. And on the flip side of that, we're always in contact with our host companies as well. And if we face a situation with a host company and the intern, we can incorporate that guidance into our weekly meetings to show real world examples to help the interns understand, like the holidays just passed, just a quarter ago, but the holidays just passed. And that was a real, you know, a couple of weeks worth of discussions. You know, how do you handle time off in the holidays in corporate America? It's very different than how you handle the holidays and time off in the military. So, you know, we started in early November talking to them about how to handle that if you want extra time off in the, you know, in your internship, and how does time off look in an internship, right? So we're able to support the host company as well as the intern through those discussions. Sorry, Doc, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, but that, Kathy, you just made the sharp point even sharper. So corporate America, why do you care? Why do you want because I know, I get it. I stand at conferences all the time. Oh, we do SkillBridge residency. Oh, I got it. You do SkillBridge. Cool. We do SkillBridge a little differently. Our mission is to help the vet land a meaningful, lucrative post-service career. That's our mission. Oh, by the way, we do that by helping corporate America do low cost, low risk, high fit hires, right? Creates competitive advantage. So that's why corporate America, you'd want a resident, an intern from Vets2PM. Lots of great places do lots of great SkillBridge residency stuff, but we do the extra stuff like help you lift a log. We mentor your guys and gals. So if you don't have the capacity or the capability to mentor the vet that you're onboarding, guess what? You don't have to. We will.
It's like the veteran resource group right here.
Yeah, they come to the thing that Bridget was talking about, and they help each other. If you need help with your stuff, you can reach out to Kathy and Bridget. We've got videos for them. We've got videos for you. Like, we help lift the log because we're taking care of them. And you don't have to hire an HR FTE full-time employee to take care of them, to run your SkillBridge residency program. We're doing it for the residents anyway. All you have to do is train them up. All you have to do is interview them. That's it.
And even if you're SkillBridge approved, we can still do your program for you. If you don't have the time, the energy, you know, a lot of companies have a lot of turnover in their point of contact that they originally had. is no longer working there. And so a lot of people are blindly applying to a dormant program. Well, we can still do that for you, and we can run the administrative side of it. So, just because you're a DoD approved SkillBridge provider doesn't mean that we can't facilitate and help you and run a very effective program for you.
And you won't ever receive a resume again where you look at it and you say to yourself, God dang, I wish I knew what this said. I wish I knew where the value in this resume was, because we are vets for vets. We've already vetted, like, dude, take those acronyms out. You're going to talk like this instead. You're going to certify like this instead, right? So if you've ever sat around in your HR meetings and tried to figure out like, oh my God, we keep getting all these resumes, I'm sure there's gold in there, but I don't know how to mine it. Well, now you don't have to. The resumes are clear, they're concise, they relate to what you're hiring for, you're training them, they're certified. That's easy math.
And we translate. So if you need someone to help translate them, if you don't understand it, we push you the resumes because we know that they're a good fit for your position. So, all that struggle of trying to figure out what an airborne mission system specialist is, or, anything like that, like you don't have to worry about it. We'll handle that for you.
Wow. Lots of ground you guys covered so far.
Yeah.
I will say, just kind of bringing it in, I wanted to hit one point. This is kind of a high risk question. This is for you, Jessica. They mentioned that you took the position in the SkillBridge without a potential hire. How did that make you feel when you first accepted it?
So when I first accepted the SkillBridge with Vets2PM, I didn't plan on getting a job after. My focus was school. So, I have the GI Bill. So my focus was, I'm going to do the internship, get some, human resources, administrative assistant, on the job training. And then when my internship is over, I'm going to apply to school, and that's what I'll be doing. I'll use my BAH. And if I need to get a part-time job, I'd be set. But, as things happen, life changes. And so I didn't end up going to school. I'm still waiting on that. So I had a plan, but the plan changed. And thankfully, I still got the opportunity to, get on the job training. And, like I said, there wasn't a position available after, but, you guys, I showed my worth, and, I was valuable. And so you guys did end up offering a position after.
And I want you to hear that, veterans. I want you to hear that, because many of our own kind will tell you on social media and in TAPS classes, don't accept entry-level positions. That's a bunch BS. Like, don't accept lateral moves. That's a bunch BS. Like, here's the reality. Yes, you're a badass, but you have no civilian context. However, you're going to fit. They're a large bureaucratic organization ruled by policies, procedures, SOPs, bosses, peers. All of it's the same stuff. I know how to manage things. I know how to lead. I know how to breathe deeply when shit's going south. I know how to figure this out and solve some problems through others. Every one of you listening and out there in MTA Podcast Nation's got that skill and ability. So listen to what Jess said. I don't care if you feel like the salary's beneath you, or the job title's beneath you, or the whatever is beneath you. Jess is a prime example. And we've got hundreds of them from E6 to 05. They hire you, and in the CivDiv, if they figure out that they've untitled you, they've mistitled you, you're underpaid, you're underskilled, and you'll go play for another team when they walk by and see that you've underhired them and they're going to throw money at them and steal your key star players. Veterans, you'll get in that position, you'll run circles around your peers, and they will hire and promote you as fast as they possibly can so you don't go play for another team. That's the reality. So who cares what they call you? Just call you for dinner. Who cares what they pay you? Hustle your ass off and get paid more. They'll throw money at you to get you to stay, right?
Well, and furthermore, Jess kind of hit the head on the nail when she said, plans change. So when you're at the point where you think you've been planning this transition for years and you're like, oh, this is what I'm going to do, and this is the industry I'm going to go in. Well, this is low risk. Had she gotten out and said, I'm going to school 100%, and that changes, she didn't have anything else to fall back on. And so one, she had a support network for her while she was doing that transition. And two, we kind of helped guide her to what she wanted to do and where she wanted to work and what kind of environment she wanted to work in. So, when you still have the paycheck, you still are providing benefits for you and your family, that it's a low risk. You have time to figure it out. And we have some people that say, well, what if my SkillBridge, what if it doesn't work out? Well, then you have a very limited risk in that, because you're not relying on a paycheck when your internship is, maybe it's not the right environment. Maybe you go in, like we've had some that just go in and they think this expectation is here, and it either fell short or the expectation for them was higher and they weren't meeting that bar. But that it's a temporary thing, that there's a given time frame. And so if you go in for a 4-month internship and at the end you go, this really wasn't for me, or I didn't get along, I didn't fit in their culture, or I just realized that maybe I just want to be a stay-at-home parent, or I just want to go to school. What better time to do it when you have a paycheck and you have your benefits and you can figure that out, because plans change. And so, I just think that, like I said, it's probably one of the best Department of Defense programs that is around. And it really limits the risk for the veteran. And then the host company as well, they get to tap into experience that they don't have normally. You can't get the same experience out of someone that just graduated college. You can't, internship. Kathy knows, we don't call our interns, we call them residents, because they bring such a vast different experience and skill sets to the table. And they're not new to corporate America. They've been working, they're not new to the workforce. So they just have it's just a whole different type of candidate that you can bring into your company. And, I'll steal this from one of my previous commanders is, you take that time to integrate them, to onboard them, to accustom them to your culture, and do all of those things while you're not paying them. And by the time that you offer them a job and they become a paid employee, they're a full up round. They're ready to go. You're not spending time paying them to learn your system, to learn what your expectations are, to do your onboard training. They are a paid full up round the minute that they start out with your company. So, I can't say enough positive things about this program and this company, because of the fact that we have really taken a lot of our lessons learned from Jessica and I, actually being firsthand experience at a SkillBridge program, and the frustrations that we had trying to find a company that, one, didn't understand. I was cold calling companies and people and being like, hey, there's this great opportunity of DoD SkillBridge, ever hear of it? And they're like, no. Look, I'm going to explain it to you. There's limited risk for you. You don't have to pay me. I want to come in. I called the mayor's office. Hey, I want to learn what government is about, what city government is. And they just don't want the risk because they don't know much about the company. So we have taken that, those lessons learned, and integrated them into our program, that we sit down with each of our host companies, potential host companies, or anyone that just wants to listen about our program, when we explain those things and try to mitigate the frustration of not knowing the program. And we'll clearly speak about our program, how we do it, what's the benefit for the veteran plus the company. So I think that, I wouldn't go to anyone else.
And,
But
sorry, Kathy. So a real fine point about what Bridget just said. Gang, in the paperwork, they're called interns. But when I say intern, you think, oh, great, I'll hire your college kids in the summer. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about every one of our guys and gals has 10 plus years of experience doing the stuff that we're telling you they can do. And oh, by the way, some independent third parties certified it. That's why we started calling them residents, because the minute we said, hey, corporate America, they're going to be in residency, learning you, your systems, your culture, your organization, your business, your market, your customers. Corporate America's like, got it, man. I'll take residents all day long, right? So anyway, just a finer point. That's why we say things and do things the way we do, because of that feedback that Bridget was saying. Kathy, how do we incorporate feedback in, and what do you got, my sister?
Well, we incorporate feedback. We do exit surveys for interns or for residents and for our host companies, and we incorporate that to improve our program constantly. One example for host companies. For instance, we have somebody who's in residency right now in project management, and the host company, when they interviewed him, basically said, hey, we want to hire you at the end of this internship. Most of our host companies hope to hire at the end of the internship. And they've told him over and over again during the first 5 weeks of this internship, we love you, we want to hire you, blah, blah, blah. So on our call with our interns yesterday, he was asking, well, what do I do about interviewing with other companies? Like, until they really show me they want to hire me, what should I do? Because I'd accept the job today if they gave it to me, if the comp was, acceptable. And so we always tell our interns, you should be interviewing till you have a job offer. But for our host companies, if they are serious about wanting to hire that person at the end, and they know after 5 weeks, you're performing, you're who we want, give them the job offer now, because that will prevent them from going elsewhere and you losing them. So it's important for the host companies to understand that these people are hot commodities on the market. And if you want to keep them, and at whatever point they're a good fit for your company, start talking to them and get them before someone else does. So that's it. We'll talk more about host companies in a separate podcast, and the same with interns. But we had one intern who was in an IT cyber internship and was likely going to be an entry level, because he was going from something in the military to the IT cyber world. This person crushed it in the internship, got 3 highly sought after certifications, has a good clearance, a high clearance, and the host company ended up offering him a 6-figure salary in a place he didn't even think he wanted to move to. So he's moving to a place he didn't even think he was open to moving to, and he got a kick butt job with a 6-figure salary. So magic happens every day in this program, and we help make it happen by making it easy for the host company, guiding them, making it easy for the veteran, the transitioning service member, and guiding them throughout the process.
And one of the feedback I get often from these conferences where I'm doing the biz dev stuff, talking to potential host companies is, and you host companies, there's a reason we train you. You better take care of our folks. We're watching you. We're going to help you, but you mistreat one of our vets, we have a conversation. You do it twice, we fire you. I got no problem firing a company where I can't put a veteran, right? So those companies that do the right thing and take care of their peeps, they're creating huge competitive advantage, because they're getting low cost, low risk, high fit hires, right? And the companies that aren't doing it the right way aren't. Which company would you like to be?
Well, and our veterans are so high performing. They're used to meeting expectations, exceeding expectations, that we've told them, watch out, because your veterans are going to take over your company, because you're going to just want to feed your whole company full of veterans. I think that they really, a lot of the feedback we got is the fact that they value what veterans bring to the table. And sometimes there does take a little bit of molding, of expectations. And sometimes we think that, we've done that, been there, done that type mentality, and that we go in. And sometimes it's a humbling experience, I think, for some of our interns to think, a lot of the feedback I had received before I retired was, hey, everyone's going to want to hire you. That would be stupid for them not to hire you. And that is a struggle, is to figure out where you fit in corporate America, because they can't walk in and think that I'm going to be an executive in a company because I was running a squadron or a unit or battalion or whatever. You've got to earn those positions. And so, we just have to figure out where we fit in the puzzle, and then we'll crush it once we're in there, and so this, again, I can't say enough positive things about the program, and where it's, for Jessica and I, it's it's proof positive that it can work, that we have hundreds of interns that I think would say exactly the same thing of what a positive experience it is. Some have gotten hired by their host companies, some have not. Some have found outside employment. Some have decided to be a stay-at-home parent. Some have decided to go back to school. But you really get the chance and the choice to determine what you're going to do once that paycheck stops coming in. And if you decide corporate America isn't the way for you, you're not obligated to accept a position if your host company, decides to give you a job offer. This is the one time, maybe in some people's adult life, that they actually get to be in control of where they go and what they do. So you can say no. We do tell our host companies that, hey, we appreciate the investment in our veterans, but just realize that you're not obligated to offer them a position if they're not a good fit for your company or your culture. And then, but on the other side, on the flip side, is the veteran is not obligated to accept a position. We do encourage them to continue to interview and put resumes out there and find the match for you. So, like I said, low risk for both parties. And we really want it to work out. I will say that we said the duration was about 180 days. Some services actually have reduced that based off of certain criteria. I know that the Navy is making continuous changes on their policy and procedures. Army has something completely different with the CSP. The Air Force has their own, their own policy on their time frame. So we tend to see that if it's about a 3 to 4 month internship is really a sweet spot. It gives the veteran an opportunity to kind of see what's going on and determine whether or not they want to stay in that industry. And then it also gives the company enough time to determine whether or not they want to offer them a job. And then if the member wants to take terminal leave at the end to literally decompress, take the uniform fully off, they can do that. And so we can go through each scenario. It's really based off of individual needs, off of the candidate and the host company. And I will say, one of the things that I don't mean to talk so much, Jeremy, I apologize. I'm just really passionate about the program. But one thing that is different about our program than a lot of other programs is the fact that we don't necessarily go cohort style. We cater our program to the needs of the company and the candidate. So it's a lot easier for us to say, hey, when are you available versus you need to adjust all of your terminal leave and your permissive TDY and everything to meet our timelines. We are very flexible on the timeline of what we put our residents through, as well as coordinate with the host company to say, hey, this is when they can start. Will that accommodate what you need? So,
and real quick, gang, before we go to the next topic, corporate America, here's what I want you to hear. Right? You hear us talking about the vets. We're a wee bit biased, as you can imagine, right? We know what they can do. We believe in them. We are them, etc. However, this dance takes two to make the tango work out the right way. Yeah, I'll send you a high caliber, high speed person to take care of your company. However, you're just as critical in this whole dance as that veteran is. You need to train them. You need to teach them how to talk, how to walk, how to act, how to dress. Do they wear pocket squares? Not wear pocket squares? Do they show up to meetings for 15 minutes early? Because that's what we used to do for formation, right? Like, hey, how about 5 minutes early, man? Don't make us all feel bad, right? Like, you have to train them. Otherwise, they aren't a high culture fit with you, right? So I want my corporate America peeps to hear that too. You're just as important as this in this dance as they are. They aren't successful unless you help them. You aren't as successful as you could be unless they help you. So it's two-way street,
And truly the first 2 to 3 interns that a host company takes is how the host company learns how to make their program internally work. It's always bumpy at the beginning. There's expectations because they've never done it before. So once you go through it 1, 2, 3 times, then they get their rhythm, and then it becomes a smooth sailing machine. We have one host company that has 30 some odd interns at any given time, with like an 80% retention rate, higher rate, at the end of the internship. And at the beginning, there was lots of, how do we educate all of our hiring managers on this, et cetera. And as each intern went through the program, and now we've had, several graduate from the program, they're all learning from each other and refining their processes and having a cohesive system internally. That's a big company. Sometimes it's a company with, 5 or 10 employees. We have a host company that's a tech startup. And they've got, I don't know, 3 or 4 of our interns right now, and they're making job offers, and they're fully expecting the majority of their company pretty soon to be veterans from Vets2PM's SkillBridge program. Driving this tech startup, that's pretty cool. So we can accommodate any type of company and find the right person for you.
Nationwide or geographically specific. So we have a couple nationwide, multiple locations.
Yep.
We also, we're actually not just nationwide. We actually are global. We do have locations all over the world. I know we have an intern in Guam. Currently, we've got openings in Germany. And so, we're not, if you're overseas and have the ability to stay overseas, we do have some opportunities as well.
How cool is that? International company of intrigue. Bang.
Right. Yeah, that's difficult when you're starting to look at, I'm stationed overseas and maybe my spouse has a command sponsored job or something of that sort, and we have the ability to stay overseas. Well, what am I supposed to do once I retire or separate from overseas? Well, we do have some roles that we can roll you into, and we're hoping. I mean, we're just growing exponentially. Every time we turn around, we'll have a new host company, and we just have a lot of interns that are applying for our opportunity. We are very competitive. There are a lot of positions that a lot of people want to get into. IT cyber is a huge one because it's such a growing industry, and it's really hard after the military has been telling you what to do for so long that you get a chance to kind of dabble in something that you really enjoy. And so, if for some reason it's taking us a while to match you with someone, it's okay. We will do our best. We do have a highly competitive program. And sometimes it just takes us time to match you. I will also say that, when we're talking about applying for those positions, it's hard for us to commit to a company and foster an internship 2 years out or a year out, because we have to look at a fiscal responsible company is that they may not be able to commit to hiring someone that far out. So it's one of the things. It's the learning curve. We forget in the military about fiscal constraints. We always say fiscal constraints, but then by the end of the fiscal year, we're spend, and then we have blank check season, which is right before the budget is released and before we actually get money into our accounts. But that's completely different on the outside in small businesses in corporate America. And so they have to actually budget out for hiring, and they have to, when you're looking at a small business with 5 to 10 employees, when you're asking $75,000 or $100,000 for an entry level or for your salary, look at what they have to generate in revenue. And so that's one of the reasons that we can't really have, it's not that we haven't done that, but having a company commit a year out is a little bit more difficult. We tend to say around 4 to 6 months, Kathy, before
I think starting to apply for internships 3 months before you're available to start date is the sweet spot. Some companies, some of our hosts can accommodate longer lead times, but typically 3 months before your available start date. That gives the month for your command approval and 2 months to start sharing you with the opportunities that you're applying for.
And interviewing.
But you can you can do our SkillBridge interest form 2 years before, and then keep an eye on the job board just to learn, the companies that we're working with and the types of opportunities we have.
So speaking of hiring, let's double tap that target real quick. So Kathy, I'm going to ask you a question. Bridget and Jess, I'm going to ask you a question. You gals can answer each other's question, but I want to make sure we come at this from both avenues, right? So Kathy, from corporate America's perspective, what are we looking for that makes our highly competitive program? What makes a candidate stand out as that ass-kicking resident that we can place with confidence? And then Bridget and Jessica, what in your experience, what makes a great company to go intern with, right? So that you guys and gals, so we could start to set some expectations. Hey, vet, what am I looking for? Hey, corporate America, what am I looking for? Kathy, what do you think?
Yeah, so we'll get into this deeply on the two separate follow-up podcasts, but what makes a veteran that or a transitioning service member that we're sending to a company a great candidate? Everybody thinks of veterans as polite. They show up to work on time. They call you ma'am. They, all of that. They're honest. But really, the key part of what makes them such a great candidate is their breadth of experience. They have a what's called an MOS or an AFSC, whatever. It's their job title, right? So I'm an aviation maintenance superintendent. Well, under the umbrella of what that person does, they have all these added on responsibilities, which include personnel management, budgetary oversight, planning, all these different things that corporate America relies on. And this one person had the responsibility for aviation maintenance management, but they also know how to manage personnel and plan for promotions and, workforce planning and development and all that kind of stuff. But they also have budgetary planning and responsibility and meeting budgets. So the only part of budgets that these people don't do is profit and loss, basically. Everything else they do. And so that's based on levels as opposed to job titles, basically, to put it simply. So they also are responsible for talking to very high levels in the organization and answering point blank hard questions and having people very high in the organization, like C-level in corporate America, saying to them, I expect you to do this by this date. Can you do it? It's really not a question. Yes, it'll get done. And they know how to get it done. They don't, shrink at those types of situations. They can handle themselves. So you put one of our people in front of a customer, in front of a boss, in front of, any person of authority within the organization or a customer, and they're going to be able to conduct themselves in a professional manner. And they're not afraid to say, I don't have the answer to that question, but we'll get it for you, instead of, trying to answer something that they don't know the answer to. By the same token, if that person is in an internship and something's not right about what they're being asked, they're going to come to us or they're going to come to their supervisor and say, I'm not really sure that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Can you help me figure out how to solve this? So we've seen all of these situations, but that's what makes our candidates for SkillBridge internships so unique. You're not going to get that, from just somebody applying in corporate America, and you're not going to know it unless you learn it from going through the SkillBridge internship program.
What makes a kick-ass company?
Yeah, so during my internship, since we all work remotely, I got to meet you guys in person. And so it's just the atmosphere, the ambience, you guys are all great people. And for me, Vets2PM, the mission statement, helping veterans achieve lucrative post-service careers. Who doesn't want to help that? As a veteran, I know the struggles of, like you said, fixing our resume, speaking civilian. And so I just love this company so much. And our mission statement, what we do, we help veterans achieve jobs after the military, careers.
Yeah. And I really think that it really comes down to how much preparation is given between the service member and the company. Because really, if you're reading a resume and you don't understand it, but as a company, I'm investing in the service member to understand, to meet in the middle, to be able to speak the same language or ask questions to see where that veteran has come from, what their background is, kind of dig a little bit. invest in them some time. And then on the other side, it's the same thing. Like, hey, if I'm going in for an interview, I want to understand the company. I want to know what they're doing. I want to read their mission statement. I want to understand their vision. I want to know what they do. And if I don't know, that I'm going to ask questions in the interview. And I really feel that the interview portion is probably one of the most important things that will give you insight to both the company and your candidate. And so that preparation, whether it's, think about what you want from each side. So as a company, what do you want from your veteran? Really? And ask questions, because you may not understand everything that's on their resume. But I can, if you're even curious, then it'll show that, you have a little bit time and energy invested in your veteran. So ask them. I see that, like, one of the questions we've recently had is, well, I see that they're very ops centric, and so that may not be a good fit. And I was like, well, that's because that's their primary job, and that's what they're going to put on a resume. And a resume can only, when you're looking at resume writing, we tend to say about 2 pages is about the length, and so they can't put everything and all of their skills sets and experience on a 2-page resume. So just ask them, can you elaborate more about what you did and what, other skills that may not be listed on your resume? Can you tell me how you managed people? What are your involvement with leading teams or procuring supplies? Or, have you ever done a project from cradle to grave? Because you say project management, but can you maybe explain that a little bit more? And then on the other side for the veteran is they ask the questions, see what you really want. Are you really looking to do a lateral move from somewhere, from the military to something that performs just like it did in your unit? Or are you trying to expand your horizons? Are you looking for something that, you want to integrate well into their culture? Are you looking for something that exploits your current skill sets? Or is it something that you want to grow into? What does your learning curve or what does your progression look like for you? And start thinking about those questions before you have the interview. And what makes a great company and is that those 2 initiatives match, right?
And their commitment
right?
Their commitment
to each other, right?
Yeah.
So, if I think that's a very subjective question, is what makes a company so great. I think that if that match, if those commitment is in line with each other and their intentions match each other, then that's the company for you.
Yeah. And I think the companies that commit to this program, especially the ones that get past the first few potentially bumpy internships, are the ones that are truly committed to the program. And we work with one company in particular that has put together, well, a couple of them recently have put together veteran resource groups within their company because of this program, who have started to really show that their commitment to veterans is long-term, and they have a culture that matches kind of the military culture, that promote from within and that safe place, that kind of thing. And I know we need to start wrapping up, and Jeremy's connection is wavering a little bit. So I think at this point, unless anybody else has anything to add, we can go around the room and just give final thoughts. And then upcoming podcasts, we're going to dig in. We're going to have a podcast geared just toward host companies, SkillBridge host companies. And then we're going to have another podcast geared just toward SkillBridge interns. So you guys can each learn every single nugget about our program, how it works, why it's beneficial, and more details about each. So I've talked. Bridget, anything else to add?
No, just yes, I guess I say no, but the answer is really yes. If you're interested in our program, you can always reach us through our email. My email is bridget@vets2pm.com. For those that are on audio, it's BRIDGETT@vets vets2pm.com. And you can also reach us on our webpage, vets2pm.com, and you can ask us. We're very responsive. That's one of the things that I think we pride ourselves on, is the fact that we want to make a connection with you individually. If you're a host company, we want to set up a meeting with you just to kind of explain our program and see what we can do to help you integrate veterans into your company. And the same thing with all of our veterans, trying to make that successful transition. So we're here. We're here if you need anything. If you have questions, please reach out to us. If you don't use us, use I tell you, it is the best program out there. Whether you use Vets2PM or you use another source, I just say take a look at the program. Make sure that that you take advantage of this one. So
I say SkillBridge is the best recruiting hack out there. It's my new soundbite because it's the truth. And if you want someone else to manage it for you, that's us. Jessica, what would you like to add?
No, I agree. Kathy and Bridget said it all. It's a great program. If you're able to take advantage of it, there's low risk.
Doc?
Well, and I think Bridget hit the nail on the head. I like to say we're a customer service company that helps veterans by helping corporate America, right? So we don't know what your needs are unless you reach out and tell us. So as you have experienced, we got a team of smart cats in here, and they're standing by to help you determine what are your requirements, what does your solution look like, and if we can help you with it, we'll help you with it. If we can't, we know lots of folks who probably can. So we, as my business attorney will tell you, the answer is always no until you ask, right? So reach out, ask, let us help you, and yep, that's us. That's what we do for a living.
Thank you for tuning in and spending a bit of time with us at the Military Transition Academy powered by Vets2PM. If we piqued your interest, but you want more details, please head over to the website vets2pm.com and see if we can help prepare you for a better tomorrow or a future meaningful and lucrative career.